In the last episode, we talked about the hidden traps of being high income in the Philippines. Lifestyle inflation, family pressure, celebration debt, the always on brain, the get rich quick temptation, and decision paralysis. Today, we're going a level deeper. Because when clients tell me, Mon, I earn well, but I honestly don't know where my money goes, there's usually not one big problem. There are seven small leaks quietly working in the background. Individually, they may be easy to shrug off, but together, over 5 or 10 years, they can cost you millions in lost opportunities. By the end of this video, my goal is that you'll be able to identify which of these seven leaks you actually have and put a rough number to how much each one is costing you every year. We'll start with a leak that's easy to dismiss and then move into the sneakier ones. Leak number one: untracked, nice to have spending. This leak feels harmless because it's usually small stuff like all those food deliveries, coffee runs, subscriptions, in app purchases, unplanned add to cart moments. Individually, maybe 300 pesos here, 600 pesos there. It's really nothing. But when I look at actual statements with clients, I often see 10 to 20,000 a month on things they don't even remember a week later. That's 120,000 to 240,000 pesos a year. For a lot of emerging affluent Filipinos, that's the equivalent of a year of a child's tuition, or a sizable extra investment contribution, or a big chunk of an emergency fund. It's not the conscious splurges that leak the most. It's the unconscious, unplanned swipes that don't align with any bigger plan. So instead of tracking every single expense, that's too tedious, we set up buckets for your usual areas of misbehavior. For example, a dining out bucket, if that's a problem area. A shopping bucket. My wife and I like to call ours our fun fund. A special occasions bucket. You get the idea. Every month, a fixed amount automatically goes into those accounts or envelopes. And keep these areas of misbehavior separate, okay, from everything else. That's crucial. Then, when it's time to spend, you don't check your feelings, you check the balance of those buckets. If there's money in the bucket, you enjoy it guilt-free. But if the bucket is empty, that's your signal to stop. This way, you control how much you spend on nice-to-haves proactively at the budgeting stage, while still enjoying them guilt-free when it's time to spend. No detailed tracking required. This is actually the secret to controlling your spending. You don't have to meticulously track every single expense and feel guilty when you spend. It's all about budgeting a fixed amount to dedicated buckets for your areas of misbehavior, then enjoying the freedom to spend the cash in that bucket whenever and whichever way you want. Then when the bucket is empty, you stop. No cheating with a credit card. So you get to enjoy spending while ensuring discipline and control, all without tracking a single expense. Isn't that fun? Leak number two: unsystematic family support. We touched on this in the previous video, but let's put it in leak terms. If you're sending 30,000 a month to family, that's 360,000 a year. If you're also doing intermittent bailouts, say another 100,000 to 200,000 pesos a year, that's easily 500,000 to 600,000 of cash flow going out annually. Helping family is not the leak. Let me be clear about that. The leak is not having a system or a ceiling. You end up in a pattern where you feel guilty if you say no, but you feel resentful if you say yes. So you just absorb everything and hope it all works out. Every undefined obligation eventually becomes unlimited, and unlimited obligations will swallow limited income. But since they're obligations, they inevitably happen. This is what I called UBI expenses, unexpected but inevitable expenses. You don't know when they will happen, but you do know they will happen eventually. So the practical fix here is to formalize and systematize contributions for UBI expenses into their own buckets. First, you decide on a sustainable monthly support amount. Then you decide on an annual emergency cap for family help. The key here is to set aside even a small amount. The important thing here is that it's a regular contribution. So you can set up a family support bucket and a family emergency bucket in your budgeting system. Or you can just combine them into one. Then dedicate an account exclusively for them. It can be a savings account you're no longer using, or one of those savings buckets in your digital bank account, or a money market fund in your bank of choice, or even a physical envelope or slot in an accordion folder. So whether digital or analog, this system works. Then the tougher part. You need to communicate to your family gently but clearly in a way that fits your family culture that, family, this is the level of support we can sustain so we can stay stable and keep helping over time. you're not becoming less generous. You're actually becoming more sustainable in your generosity. Leak number 3, predictable but unplanned big expenses. I call these the seasonal bigs. Medium to large expenses that don't happen regularly, but seasonally and therefore predictably. Seasonal bigs can feel like emergencies, but are actually predictable if you zoom out, like those bigger gadget expenses, home maintenance, car maintenance and LTO registration, school-related expenses, big annual renewals like insurance, memberships, and so on. Because they're not planned, they keep hitting your cash flow as surprises. So every time you feel like you're about to build momentum, boom, another emergency forces you to dip into savings or swipe the card. Poor planning turns seasonal bigs into emergencies, even if they're not, which then justifies bad financial moves like taking on new debt or pulling from your investments. The fix here is to build sinking funds into your budget and separate two events. The event of budget allocation, this is fixed, monthly, and predictable, from the event of actual spending, which is seasonal and unpredictable. So if you're constant on the allocation portion, then even if the actual disbursement is unpredictable or seasonal, it won't matter because the money will be there. So practically, how do you pull this off? First, you compute the annual cost of these seasonal big expenses. Then you divide by 12 to get the monthly amount. And then you set up dedicated buckets for the seasonal bigs and move that monthly amount into those buckets automatically. It won't matter anymore how random the actual timing of the gastos is. The money will already be there when you need it. Leak number 4, uncommitted surplus resulting in idle cash. Many high-performing Filipino professionals do have extra money each month, but because it has no assigned job, it just drifts. Some months, it becomes extra lifestyle spending. Some months, it becomes random investing. And other months, it just sits in the bank. There's no consistent pattern, so there's no consistent progress. It just becomes idle cash. I've seen clients who start my program with 500,000 pesos, 1 million pesos, sometimes 2 million pesos sitting in regular savings accounts or low yield time deposits at best, earning less than 1% per year. Meanwhile, inflation is eroding 4 to 6% of their purchasing power. Over 10 years, that's hundreds of thousands of pesos lost in opportunity cost. Money without a job will always find a way to disappear. Remember that. Being too safe with all your cash is its own kind of leak, especially when inflation outruns your interest. So the move here is to set up buckets for your goals and allocate a budget for them every month. Also, have a plan to accelerate your contributions whenever you have a windfall. So might as well put your excess to work to connect you faster to your highest priorities and aspirations. So, how do we pull this off? First, you need to get clear on your specific goals. Make sure when you define your goals, they're specific, measurable, and time-bound. Then, set up separate goal buckets or accounts for these priorities. Name them after each goal. You honor your goals by doing that. Third, decide on a standing instruction for your surplus. For example, after bills, support, and seasonal bigs, 60% of whatever is left goes into goal accounts, 20% into investing, and 20% is fun money. Or you can flip the narrative and say, well, I want to set aside 30% of my income for my savings and my goals. And the remaining 70% is money that I will spend on the day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month. So this way, you still keep a true emergency fund in a safe liquid form and enough cash for comfort. But now, anything beyond that is given a job, instead of loitering in low-yield accounts or disappearing into lifestyle creep. Leak number 5, overlapping or misaligned financial products. Another quiet leak is paying for things you don't really need or don't fully understand. Some common examples are having too many insurance policies with overlapping coverage and unclear purpose. Another are investment products with high fees but mediocre performance. Yet another are legacy products bought years ago that no longer match your situation. So every month you're paying premiums and fees. But if we ask, what role does this play in your overall plan? The answer is often, hindi ko na alam eh. Basta I just keep paying. You know, confusion is expensive. If you don't know what the product is doing for you, there's a good chance it's not doing much. What you can do is a simple but powerful product audit. List down all of your policies and investment products. And for each one, write a one-line purpose. This exists because fill in the blank. Anything that doesn't have a clear role in your overall strategy is reviewed, consolidated, or phased out. And this is where professional guidance helps a lot, okay? It's hard to audit your own setup objectively when you're the one who bought everything. Talk to a financial advisor or planner who you know will have your best interests at heart and not be too eager to hard sell you on buying a product. Leak number 6, investing without a plan. This leak shows up when you're investing, but not in a coherent way. It looks something like this. You put money into whatever is the flavor of the month. You keep asking, what's a good investment this year? Or where's the best place to put my money? Instead of, how do I build a system that works in different market conditions? It also looks like jumping from one idea to the next based on hot tips, headlines, or hype. And so the focus is on what to invest in or where to put money, but not on how to invest consistently over time. A related pattern to this is lack of rhythm. You're forever waiting for the perfect investment to come or the perfect timing to get into the investment, but not taking care of building a strong savings and investing habit. You know, from a retirement and wealth building perspective, your savings rate, that is how much and how regularly you invest, is way more important than squeezing out the last bit of return from the supposed perfect product. No, chasing returns without a plan gives you motion but not direction. You'll feel busy with investing, but your results are random. And so, what do? Shift your focus from picking winners to building a system. Settle on a system or method for investing your money. Then, decide on your core long-term vehicles that match your risk profile and time frame. Then, set a consistent monthly or quarterly contribution you can actually sustain. Use more speculative ideas only in a small, clearly defined play money bucket, separate from your core and no more than 10% of your invested assets. And hey, if you don't want to speculate, that's fine. Most of the financial wealth of the world is built by steady investing, not speculation. And you'll notice that once your system is in place, FOMO-driven decisions start to calm down. Leak number 7, overly illiquid portfolios. This last leak is less obvious, but I see it often among emerging affluent Filipinos. Here's the deal. You've done well over the years. Maybe bought a real estate property or two, built a business, maybe collected some hard assets like art or collectibles and so on. And on paper, when you add it all up, your net worth looks great. But when we ask, how much of your assets are liquid? The answer is often a very small percentage. This is the asset-rich, cash-poor problem. And this leak shows up when you're heavy on property, business, or illiquid assets, but light on cash and liquid investments. And so, when opportunities for investing show up, or real emergencies happen, or the time comes for you to equitably distribute your wealth to your kids, what happens? You're forced to take on new debt, or sell things under pressure, or say no to good opportunities, because everything is locked up in illiquid assets. You see, illiquid assets are a blessing only if they're paired with a healthy level of liquidity. Otherwise, you're rich on paper, but constrained in real life. A simple guideline I often share with my clients is the age plus 10 liquidity rule. As a rough starting point, your age plus 10 is the percentage of your assets that should ideally be in cash and liquid investments. And so if you're 40, that suggests around 50% liquidity. At 50, that's around 60% liquidity, and so on. It's not a rigid rule, but it gets you asking the right questions. Am I too heavy on property or business? Do I have enough liquid assets to fund retirement, health, and family needs without stress? Do I have enough liquidity to avoid the typical headaches and heartaches of equitable estate distribution when the time comes? Something really hard to do when all of your money is in illiquid assets. Adjusting your portfolio toward a healthier liquidity mix can plug a major leak. Not by increasing your net worth, but by increasing how usable and movable your wealth is. If you've been mentally checking boxes while we went through these 7 leaks, and you saw yourself in 3, 4, or even all 7, I want you to know 2 things. First, you're not alone. This is exactly what I see in high-income Filipinos every week. Second, you don't have to fix all of it solo by trial and error. Inside Beacon Financial Mastery, one of the core things we do early on is a structured money system audit. We map out your inflows and outflows, identify the specific leaks in your setup, and then build a 10-step plan to plug them in the right order. If you're at the point where you want that level of clarity, just click the link in the description and message us the keyword BFM on Facebook Messenger. We'll give you a quick, helpful overview of how the program works, and you can ask any questions privately at your own pace. No pressure, no obligation, just clarity about what's leaking and what it might look like to finally fix it. If it's not a fit, well, you can still walk away with more insight than you had before. Now let's sum this up into one concrete win. Here's how you turn this episode into action. There are at least 7 common leaks that keep high-income earners stuck. Areas of misbehavior, unsystematic family support and other UBI expenses, seasonal big expenses, uncommitted surplus resulting in idle cash, misaligned financial products, investing without a plan, and overly illiquid portfolios. So what you can do is block 20 minutes this week to do a mini leak check. First, you write the 7 leaks on a page. Then you put a star beside the top 2 to 3 that clearly apply to you. And third, for each star, write one practical move you can start this month. You don't have to solve everything at once. Plugging even one major leak can shift your trajectory over the next few years. In the next part of this journey, we're going to put all of this together and ask a bigger question. What's the cost of making good money but having neither a system nor a coach? We'll talk about the structural reason your net worth might be stuck at a certain level and what needs to change if you want your money to finally catch up with your effort. When you're ready to continue, just follow this playlist. Visible on screen for those of you watching, or in the show notes for those listening to the podcast. That's where this episode lives, and it's where the next videos in this series will be added as they come out. And if you're already at the point where you're thinking, I don't just need more information, I need a guide, the link in the show notes will take you straight to Facebook Messenger. Just send us the word BFM and we'll walk you through how Beacon Financial Mastery works and what it could look like for your situation. Inside that conversation, we can help you explore the biggest leaks you suspect in your current setup, the stress points that keep nagging at you, and whether walking through our 10-step process together is actually the right next step for you. No pressure, just clarity. A private space to understand your options and think things through before making any commitment. You've worked hard to earn what you earn. The next chapter is making sure it all adds up to the future you actually want. I'm Mon, and I'll see you in the next episode.